Jack Schlossberg is honoring his sister Tatiana Schlossberg in a moment of grief that feels both deeply personal and painfully public, as the Kennedy family once again finds itself mourning a life cut short far too soon. Tatiana Schlossberg, an accomplished environmental journalist, author, mother, and granddaughter of President John F. Kennedy, passed away at the age of 35 after a relentless battle with acute myeloid leukemia, a rare and aggressive form of blood cancer. Her death has sent shockwaves through political circles, media communities, environmental advocates, and anyone who followed her work or admired the quiet strength with which she lived her life. For many, this loss feels especially heavy, not only because of who Tatiana was, but because of the honesty, intelligence, and compassion with which she chose to share her final chapter. Tatiana's passing did not come without warning, but that did not make it any less devastating. In the final year of her life, she made the brave and deeply intentional decision to speak publicly about her illness, offering an unfiltered and profoundly human look at what it means to confront mortality at a young age while raising children, loving a spouse, and trying to make peace with a future that suddenly feels uncertain and fragile. Her words were not polished or distant. They were raw, reflective, and filled with emotional clarity. They resonated far beyond her famous last name, touching people who had never followed the Kennedy family but recognized their own fears, hopes, and questions in her reflections. They were the thoughts of a woman grappling with fear, hope, love, grief, and acceptance in real time. Born in New York City on May 5, 1990, Tatiana Celia Kennedy Schlossberg was raised in a family synonymous with public service, ambition, tragedy, and resilience. As the daughter of Caroline Kennedy and Edwin Schlossberg, she grew up surrounded by history, yet largely shielded from the harsh glare of public scrutiny. Her parents worked deliberately to give their children as normal and grounded an upbringing as possible, despite the weight of their last name. From an early age, those close to Tatiana described her as thoughtful, observant, curious, and quietly intense. She was someone who listened more than she spoke, someone who absorbed the world around her and asked difficult questions about it. Education played a central role in shaping her worldview. She attended Yale University, where she refined her voice as a writer and thinker, developing an interest in how science, policy, and human behavior intersect. She later pursued graduate studies at Oxford University, deepening her academic foundation and sharpening her analytical lens. While many assumed she might one day step into politics, Tatiana made it clear that her passion lay elsewhere. She carved out her own path, choosing journalism and environmental reporting as her calling, driven by a belief that information, when clearly communicated, has the power to change behavior and influence society. Tatiana became known for her ability to take complex scientific and environmental issues and translate them into language that felt accessible, urgent, and deeply personal. Her reporting appeared in major publications where she focused on climate change, sustainability, pollution, and the often invisible environmental costs of modern life. She had a gift for uncovering the hidden systems behind everyday conveniences, asking readers to reconsider what they consume and at what cost. In 2019, she published her book Inconspicuous Consumption, a work that challenged readers to rethink their daily habits and recognize how deeply intertwined personal choices are with global environmental consequences. The book was praised not only for its research and insight, but for its tone, firm yet compassionate, critical yet hopeful, urgent yet never condescending. Outside of her professional life, Tatiana found joy in family, movement, and nature. She was an avid runner and swimmer, someone who found peace and clarity in physical endurance and the outdoors. Friends often remarked on her strength, both physical and mental, and described her as someone who seemed deeply in tune with her body. That image of health and vitality is part of what made her diagnosis so shocking and cruel. In 2024, shortly after giving birth to her daughter Josephine, routine medical tests revealed something was terribly wrong. What began as standard postpartum follow-ups quickly turned into a devastating diagnosis: acute myeloid leukemia. The news hit with brutal force. One moment she was adjusting to life as a mother of two, navigating sleepless nights and newborn routines, and the next she was being told her blood was filled with cancer cells. The abruptness of the diagnosis shattered any sense of normalcy and thrust her into a world of hospitals, treatments, and long stretches of uncertainty. From that moment forward, Tatiana's life became defined by hospital rooms, treatments, and long stretches of uncertainty. She underwent multiple rounds of intensive chemotherapy, endured a bone marrow transplant, and participated in experimental treatments when standard options failed to bring lasting remission. At one point, a family member stepped forward as a donor, a powerful testament to the closeness of the Schlossberg and Kennedy families and the lengths they were willing to go to save her life. Each treatment cycle carried hope, followed by crushing disappointment when the disease returned. Despite the physical toll, Tatiana remained intellectually sharp and emotionally present. She continued to write, reflect, and connect with those around her. Even as her body weakened, her mind remained clear, and her desire to communicate honestly never faded. In one of her most powerful and widely read moments, she chose to document her experience in a deeply personal essay, sharing what it felt like to be told she might have only months left. She wrote about the surreal nature of illness, about how quickly the future collapses into a series of medical appointments and test results, and about the unbearable pain of imagining her children growing up without her presence. She also wrote about love, about her husband George Moran, a physician who became not just her partner, but caregiver, advocate, and emotional anchor. She described how he slept on hospital floors, learned the language of oncology, navigated medical systems, and stayed by her side through moments of hope, despair, anger, and tenderness. She wrote about her children, her son Edwin and her daughter Josephine, and the impossible task of trying to compress a lifetime of love, guidance, and memory into the limited time she had left. Tatiana did not romanticize illness. She wrote honestly about fear, rage, grief, boredom, and the exhaustion that comes from constant fighting. She acknowledged the unfairness of it all, the randomness of disease, and the anger that can accompany terminal diagnoses. But she also wrote about clarity, the way illness strips life down to what truly matters. Her words were raw, unsparing, and profoundly moving, offering readers a rare glimpse into the inner life of someone facing the end with awareness and integrity. When she passed away on December 30th, 2025, her family shared a brief statement confirming the loss. There were no grand announcements, no dramatic language, just heartbreak. The message was simple and devastating. Their beautiful Tatiana was gone, but she would live on in their hearts. The simplicity of the statement mirrored the way Tatiana herself approached life and death, with honesty and restraint. In the days that followed, tributes poured in from around the world. Journalists, environmental activists, public figures, and ordinary readers shared stories of how her work changed the way they thought about consumption, responsibility, and the planet. Many spoke about how her final essay gave them courage or helped them feel less alone in their own struggles with illness, loss, or uncertainty. For some, her words became a source of comfort. For others, a call to live more intentionally. On January 5th, 2026, Tatiana was laid to rest in a private funeral service in New York City. The ceremony took place at the Church of St. Ignatius of Loyola, a location heavy with meaning for the Kennedy family and layered with history. It was a gathering marked by grief, remembrance, and deep love. Family members sat shoulder to shoulder, united not just by loss, but by shared memories of a woman who meant everything to them. Among them was her younger brother, Jack Schlossberg. Known to the public for his charisma, intellect, and growing presence in civic life, Jack withdrew from public appearances in the days following his sister's death. When he finally chose to speak, it wasn't through a formal statement or interview, but through a carefully curated tribute that captured the depth of his grief and admiration. His message felt intimate, almost sacred, as if viewers were being allowed into a private space of mourning. Jack shared a series of reflections that felt more like a meditation than a post. He quoted from Tatiana's own writing, allowing her voice to guide the tribute. He included lines from poets and thinkers whose words echoed themes of loss, endurance, love, and beauty. He even reached back into family history, sharing a quote from their grandfather about laughter and human folly, a reminder that even in darkness, there is room for light, connection, and humanity. The most striking part of Jack's tribute was his restraint. There were no explanations, no dramatic captions, no attempts to shape a narrative, just words, memory, and a single image of the two siblings together, smiling, unguarded, and alive in a moment frozen in time. That simplicity made the tribute all the more powerful, resonating with thousands who recognized their own grief in its quiet honesty. Public reaction to Jack's tribute was immediate and emotional. Thousands shared condolences, praised his grace, and reflected on the enduring bond between siblings. Many noted how the Kennedy family, so often associated with tragedy, continues to face loss with dignity, reflection, and emotional depth rather than spectacle. For Caroline Kennedy, losing a daughter is a grief beyond words. Those close to the family have described her as devastated yet resolute, drawing strength from her children, her husband, and the example set by her own mother, who endured unimaginable loss under the public eye. The family has asked for privacy, but their quiet strength and composure have not gone unnoticed. Tatiana Schlossberg's death is a sobering reminder of how fragile life can be, even for those who seem to have everything: intelligence, purpose, love, and opportunity. But it is also a reminder of how much one person can leave behind in a short time. Through her writing, her advocacy, her honesty, and her courage, Tatiana sparked conversations that will continue long after her passing. Her story is not just one of loss, but of meaning. She lived with intention, loved fiercely, questioned deeply, and faced the end with clarity and courage. And through the words of her brother, her family, and her own voice preserved on the page, Tatiana Schlossberg continues to speak, reminding us all to live thoughtfully, love fully, and never take time for granted. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.